The stars looked different from the bridge of the Endeavour. Captain Lisa Graham stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching as Jupiter grew smaller in the view screen. Her ship was humanity's first true deep space vessel, built with engines that could bend space in ways scientists had only dreamed about 10 years ago. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Jack Peters, the sensor officer. His voice was steady, but his fingers trembled slightly above his console. Lisa walked over to his station. "Show me." The screen displayed an object moving at impossible speeds, slowing as it approached the Endeavour. It wasn't natural. The movements were too precise. "Get me ship-wide," Lisa said. When the comm officer nodded, she spoke clearly. "All hands, this is the captain. We may have encountered non-Earth technology, battle stations, but weapons tight. We are here to explore, not start a war." The object slowed and revealed itself as a ship 3 times the size of the Endeavour. Its surface gleamed with a metal that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Samantha Wright. Her eyes were wide with wonder and fear. "On screen," Lisa ordered, straightening her uniform. The screen flickered, and Lisa saw an alien for the first time. The being had smooth gray skin with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was small and lipless, and it had no visible nose. "I am Zix Thrall, diplomatic scout for the Galactic Federation," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been monitoring your world's development for some time." Lisa swallowed hard but kept her face neutral. "I am Captain Lisa Graham of the Earth vessel Endeavour. We welcome peaceful contact with your Federation." Zix Thrall's upper eyes narrowed. "How interesting. Your species developed faster than light travel, sooner than we predicted. Still primitive by our standards, but surprising." The alien's tone made Lisa's skin prickle. There was something dismissive about it. "We invite your vessel to dock with ours for formal introductions," Zix Thrall continued. "We have much to discuss about your world's future place in the galactic community." 6 hours later, Lisa sat with her senior officers in a conference room aboard the alien vessel. The gravity felt slightly off, and the air had a metallic taste. The Federation consists of 37 spacefaring species across 12,000 systems, Zix Thrall explained. 3 other aliens of different species sat with him. None of them looked impressed with the humans. "And where might humans fit in this Federation?" Lisa asked. A tall, insect-like alien made a clicking sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "Your species is physically weak. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. You lack natural weapons. Your lifespans are brief. Your technology is quaint." Lisa felt her face grow warm. "We've achieved faster than light travel in just a few centuries after discovering electricity." "Yes," said Zix Thrall. "And the Vorathi did it in half that time, with better efficiency. The next Tal did it without destroying parts of their atmosphere first." The third alien, a bulky creature with leathery skin, leaned forward. "The Federation can offer Earth-protected status. We will prevent more advanced species from exploiting your world and provide limited technological assistance." "Protected status?" asked Commander Bill Murphy, Lisa's first officer. "A designation for species with potential but requiring guidance," explained Zix Thrall. "Many species exist comfortably for centuries under such arrangements." Lisa recognized the offer for what it was, patronizing charity. But she also knew humanity wasn't ready for enemies among the stars. "We'll take this proposal back to Earth's governments," she said carefully. As the Endeavour returned home, Lisa stared at Jupiter again. The red spot seemed like an angry eye watching her. "They think we're weak," Bill said, standing beside her. "They don't know humans very well," Lisa replied. "We've been underdogs before." Bill smiled slightly. "So what do? "We accept their terms for now," Lisa said. "And then we show them exactly what humans can do when we're underestimated." 5 years passed since Earth accepted the Federation's terms. Federation ships now orbited the planet. Aliens walked the streets of major cities. They brought some new technology, but kept the best for themselves. In meetings, they spoke to humans like adults speak to children. Dr. Alan Hughes worked late in his lab at the North American Science Institute. His eyes were tired from staring at brain scans all day. He was studying how human brains responded to alien technology. "You should go home, Alan," said his assistant Maria. Alan shook his head. "Not yet. Look at this." He pointed to his screen. It showed colorful patterns of brain activity. "This is a human using Federation tech. And this," he swiped to another image, "is a Vorathi using the same tech." Maria leaned closer. "They're different. Very different," Alan said with excitement in his voice. "Humans process information in unique ways. We make connections the aliens don't. Our neural patterns are more flexible." "What does that mean?" Maria asked. "It means we might not be as weak as they think." Alan smiled. "We just have different strengths." The next day, Alan met with Colonel Diane Peters in a secure room at the Global Defense Center. Diane had been studying alien military tactics since first contact. "Your findings match mine," she said after Alan explained his research. "In combat simulations, humans make creative choices that surprise the alien instructors. We don't follow the expected patterns." Alan nodded eagerly. "The Federation species evolved along different paths. They're stronger or faster or live longer, but their thinking is more rigid." Diane tapped her fingers on the table. "The Federation gives us outdated technology because they think we can't handle the advanced stuff. But what if we developed our own tech based on how human brains actually work?" "That would take resources we don't have," Alan said. "Maybe not." Diane slid a folder across the table. "I've been given permission to start a special project. The Federation doesn't know about it. We're calling it Project Prometheus." 6 months later, Alan and Diane welcomed a new team member to their secret facility built inside a mountain. Kevin Wright was only 26 years old, but he had already built 3 new types of computers that the Federation couldn't understand. "This place is amazing," Kevin said, looking around the lab filled with equipment. Some was Federation tech, some was human-made, and some was a strange mix of both. "We needed someone who thinks differently," Diane told him. "Someone who can help us bridge human creativity with alien tech." Kevin picked up a neural interface device. It was Federation technology, but Alan had modified it. "What's this for?" "The Federation uses it to control machines with thought," Alan explained. "But they design it for their brains, not ours. I believe humans can do more with it." "How many people know about this project?" Kevin asked. 50 scientists, 10 military officers, 3 government officials," Diane answered. "The Federation thinks we're working on basic research. They don't believe we can develop anything important." That night, Kevin stayed late in the lab, taking apart the neural device and studying its components. He connected it to his computer and ran tests until morning. Diane found him asleep at his desk. On his screen was a simulation showing the device working at 300% its original capacity. "Kevin," she said, shaking him gently. "Wake up." He opened his eyes slowly. "I figured it out. The device has limits built in. The aliens think that's all it can do, but it's not. It's like they put a governor on an engine." "And what happens if we remove those limits?" Diane asked. Kevin grinned. "Then we show them what human brains can really do." At that moment, in a Federation ship above Earth, Ambassador Frank Miller endured another meeting where aliens talked down to him. They never suspected what was happening in the mountain lab. Ambassador Frank Miller sat at the far end of the massive council table on the Federation's Central Space Station. Representatives from 37 species filled the room, but Frank sat alone. Earth only had 1 seat, in the section for developing worlds. "The humans request better medical technology," Frank said when it was finally his turn to speak. He had waited 7 hours. Zix Thrall, now a senior Federation official, waved a hand dismissively. Your species hasn't fully utilized the basic medical scanners we provided 3 years ago. Because they don't work well with human biology, Frank explained patiently. Our researchers have modified them. But modified Federation technology, interrupted a tall reptilian alien. That violates the Protected Species Treaty, Section 12. Frank took a deep breath. We were trying to make them more effective for our needs. The room filled with sounds that the translator identified as laughter from various species. Imagine a child trying to improve a quantum drive with crayons, said one alien to another, loudly enough for Frank to hear. Later, Frank sent an encrypted message to Earth. Still no progress. Federation Council meetings continue to be exercises in humiliation. He didn't mention that he spent most meetings observing the politics between alien species, noticing ancient rivalries and power struggles, information that might be useful someday. Meanwhile, in the Mountain Lab, Project Prometheus had grown. New buildings had been constructed deep inside, hidden from Federation satellites. 50 scientists had become 200, 10 military officers had become 50. Alan examined the latest results from the neural interface tests. These readings are incredible, he told Diane. Our volunteers are exceeding all expected parameters. Show me, Diane said. Alan displayed a hologram of test data. Federation species use the neural tech in a linear way. Input, process, output. But humans, he pointed to a complex pattern of energy. We create feedback loops. We learn from the machine while the machine learns from us. Can we use this? Diane asked. Kevin already is. Alan replied with a smile. Come see. They walked to a larger lab where Kevin sat wearing a headset. His eyes were closed, but his fingers moved quickly over a keyboard. On a large screen, complex equations solved themselves faster than the eye could follow. He's using the neural interface to enhance his natural abilities, Alan explained. Kevin is good at math, but with the interface, he's processing information like a supercomputer. And the Federation has no idea this is possible. Diane asked. They think the technology has fixed limitations, Alan said. They never tested it on brains that work like ours. Diane nodded slowly. We need to find more people with unique mental abilities. People who think differently. 2 weeks later, Susan Baker arrived at the facility. She had been the best fighter pilot in the Global Defense Force before the Federation arrived. Now she was unemployed. The aliens had said human pilots were obsolete. I don't understand why I'm here, Susan told Diane as they walked through the lab. I'm just a pilot. You're not just a pilot, Diane replied. You have intuition. You feel the aircraft as an extension of yourself. Your test scores show you process spatial information differently than most humans. Susan stopped walking. And that matters because Kevin appeared, holding a strange helmet. Because we've built something no alien could ever fly. He grinned. Want to try it? That evening, in a massive simulation chamber, Susan sat in a mock cockpit wearing the helmet. As the neural interface activated, she gasped. She could feel the virtual spacecraft, as if it were part of her body. This is impossible, she whispered. No, Kevin said through the comm. This is human. Susan flew the simulation against Federation combat drones. She defeated 50 before they turned the system off. The previous record by a Federation pilot was 12. We're going to need more pilots, she said, her eyes bright with excitement. Outside Earth's atmosphere, a Federation patrol ship detected unusual energy readings from the mountain region. The alien commander noted it in a report but classified it as minor anomaly, likely human power generation error. He never bothered to investigate further. The emergency alarms woke Frank from a deep sleep in his small quarters on the Federation station. He had never heard them before. Red lights flashed in the corridors as he joined the crowd rushing toward the central chamber. The massive view screen showed a distant star system. Around it swirled what looked like a black cloud with flashes of purple lightning. The void swarm has consumed the Tellurian colony, announced a Federation admiral. All 2 million inhabitants are lost. Gasps and cries filled the room. Frank turned to a friendly alien diplomat beside him. "What is the Void Swarm?" he whispered. The alien's 4 eyes blinked nervously. "A new enemy. They appeared from deep space 3 months ago. They consume energy and technology. They leave nothing behind." Frank watched as more reports came in. 3 Federation worlds lost. Millions dead. Defense fleets destroyed. The swarm moved in ways that confused Federation scientists. Their patterns made no sense. When Frank tried to ask questions, senior officials ignored him. Humans were not important enough to include in emergency planning. That night, Frank sent an urgent encrypted message to Earth. "Unknown threat called Void Swarm destroying Federation worlds. Moving in this direction. Federation in panic. Request immediate meeting with Project Prometheus." 2 days later, Alan, Diane, and Kevin gathered around a table studying the limited data Frank had sent. "The Federation can't predict the swarm's movements," Alan said. "Their attack patterns seem random." Kevin stared at the data, his neural interface helmet on. "Not random. Complex. Look here and here." He pointed to moments where the swarm changed direction. "There's a pattern, but it's not based on standard attack formations." "How are you seeing this?" Diane asked. Kevin smiled slightly. "Human brains evolved to see patterns in chaos. The neural interface amplifies that ability." He pointed to more data points. "The swarm is avoiding certain energy frequencies while seeking others." "Can we use that?" Diane asked. "Maybe, if we had more data," Kevin replied. Susan walked in, followed by 20 other pilots who now trained with the neural interface. "We've completed the modified ships," she announced. 6 vessels with human-adapted Federation tech. Diane nodded. "We may need them sooner than we thought." 3 weeks later, the Federation lost its 5th major world to the swarm. The Council finally called an emergency meeting with all species, even the protected ones. Frank sat closer to the main table this time. The mood was grim. A hologram showed the swarm's path through Federation space. Scientists tried to explain the threat, but admitted they understood little about it. "Our weapons have minimal effect," explained the military commander. "The swarm adapts to each attack. It learns." Frank raised his hand. When finally acknowledged, he stood. "Has anyone noticed the pattern in its movements?" The room went quiet. "There is no pattern," said the commander. "That's the problem." "Actually, there is," Frank said. He sent data to the main screen. "My scientists analyzed the swarm's movements. It avoids certain types of radiation while seeking specific energy signatures." "Human scientists." The commander laughed. "What could they possibly understand that our experts missed?" "Perhaps nothing," Frank said calmly. "But we think differently. Sometimes an outside perspective helps." Zix Thrall narrowed his eyes. "What are you suggesting, Ambassador Miller?" "Let us help," Frank said simply. "Humanity may be physically weaker, but our minds work differently. We see patterns others miss." The council dismissed his offer with barely concealed contempt. As Frank left the chamber, he received an urgent message from Earth. The swarm had changed course. All projections now showed it heading directly toward human space. In the mountain facility, Diane gathered all Project Prometheus personnel. "The Federation has abandoned us," she announced. "They're pulling their ships back to protect their core worlds. Earth stands alone against the swarm." Instead of panic, the room filled with determined faces. "Then it's time," Susan said, "to show the galaxy what humans can really do." Earth was in chaos. News about the Void Swarm had leaked to the public. Some people tried to leave the planet, but there weren't enough ships. Others built underground shelters. Many just waited, hoping for a miracle. Captain Lisa Graham, now Admiral, stood in the Global Defense Command Center. Screens showed the swarm getting closer to Earth's solar system each day. "How long do we have?" she asked. 5 days at most," replied one of her officers. Lisa looked at the 6 ships on the main screen. They were originally Federation vessels, but Project Prometheus had changed them. Now they were hybrids of alien and human technology. "And these are all we have to defend Earth?" she asked. Diane nodded. "Yes, but they're special. Each one has our neural interface systems built in. The pilots don't just fly them, they become part of them." "Will it be enough?" Lisa asked. Alan stepped forward. "We have one more thing." He pointed to a smaller screen showing strange-looking satellites. "Kevin designed these. They create energy fields the swarm seems to avoid, based on our analysis." "How many?" Lisa asked. 32, Kevin said. "We've been building them in secret for weeks. They won't stop the swarm, but they might help control where it goes." Susan entered the room, wearing her flight suit. "My pilots are ready, Admiral. We call ourselves Operation Underdog." Lisa almost smiled. Appropriate. 12 hours later, Susan led her small fleet beyond the orbit of Mars. The modified ships moved in ways no normal spacecraft could, making tight turns and sudden stops that would kill any normal human pilot. But these pilots were connected to their ships through the neural interfaces, feeling every movement as if the metal hulls were their own skin. "Deploy the satellites according to Kevin's calculations," Susan ordered. The satellites formed a pattern in space, creating a net of energy that the pilots could feel through their neural links. "Now we wait," Susan said. They didn't wait long. The swarm appeared first as a dark spot against the stars. Then it grew, spreading out like spilled ink in water. Purple lightning flashed within it. "It's bigger than the reports said," one pilot whispered. Susan felt fear in her crew through their shared neural link. But she also felt their determination. "Remember your training," she said. "Our minds are our weapon." The swarm adapted to Federation tactics because they're predictable. We are not. The swarm moved toward them faster than any natural thing should move. It reached the first satellite and paused, as if confused by the energy signature. "It's working." Kevin's voice came through the comm from Earth. "The satellites are creating a path. Try to guide it away from direct approach to Earth." Susan and her pilots moved their ships in seemingly random patterns, but each move was calculated to draw parts of the swarm in different directions. For hours, they danced with death. 2 ships were caught in the edge of the swarm. One pilot ejected in time. The other was lost. Back on Earth, Alan watched the data flowing in from the battle. "The swarm is learning, adapting to our satellite's energy signatures. Then we adapt too," Kevin said. He wore his neural interface, connected to the satellites. "I'm changing the frequencies, keeping it unpredictable." In space, Susan felt the change through her ship. The swarm is splitting up, getting confused by the shifting energy patterns. A Federation scout ship appeared at the edge of the solar system, observing from a safe distance. "Looks like we have an audience," Susan told her pilots. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." She led her remaining ships in an attack pattern no flight instructor would ever teach. It looked chaotic, almost suicidal. But it worked. The swarm couldn't predict their movements. For the first time since it appeared, the void swarm began to retreat. The Federation observer sent an urgent message back to the Council. Humans fighting swarm with unknown technology. Against all odds, they appear to be winning. Word spread quickly through the Federation. Humans were fighting the void swarm, and somehow, they were not losing. More Federation ships arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system to watch. Susan's fleet had pushed the swarm back beyond Mars, but the victory had come at a cost. 3 of their 6 ships were damaged. Pilots were exhausted from the neural link strain. "We need to rest," Susan told Admiral Lisa over the comm. "The neural interfaces drain us physically." "You have 6 hours," Lisa replied. "The swarm is regrouping." On the Federation observation vessel, Zix Thrall watched the battle recordings with disbelief. "How are they doing this?" he asked his science officer. "Their ships move in ways that defy standard combat logic." We're detecting unusual energy patterns from their vessels, the officer replied. And from the humans themselves. It appears they've modified our neural technology in ways we never considered. Zix Thrall's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Impossible. They're too primitive. Back on Earth, Kevin worked frantically to improve their defenses. The swarm is learning our patterns, he told Alan and Diane. We need something new. What about the Federation ships watching us? Diane asked. Could they help? Kevin laughed without humor. They're just watching us die. Admiral Lisa entered the room. Maybe not. Ambassador Frank just called from the Federation station. The Council is debating whether to send help. They'll debate until we're all dead, Alan said bitterly. Lisa looked at the battle maps. Then we need to show them something that will end the debate. 6 hours later, Susan led her refreshed pilots back into space. This time, their ships carried something new. Adaptive weapons systems loaded, Susan reported. Kevin, are you with us? From Earth, Kevin's voice came through the neural link. I'm here. The new systems will evolve during combat based on what works, just like your tactics do. The swarm had changed too. It moved differently now, trying to predict the human ships. It's learning, Susan told her pilots, so we need to be unpredictable. They executed attack patterns that looked like mistakes but weren't. They flew too close to each other, seeming to nearly crash, but never did. Through their neural links, they moved as one mind with many parts. The Federation ships watched as the human fleet danced with the swarm, leading parts of it into traps, confusing it with seemingly irrational movements. Their coordination is impressive, said a Federation admiral on the observation ship. For primitives, Zix Thrall added, but his voice lacked conviction. On Earth, Lisa received a message from Frank. The Council is voting now on whether to help Earth. The battle in space reached its peak. The swarm surrounded Susan's fleet, trying to cut them off from Earth. We're trapped, one pilot said, fear in his voice. Susan felt his fear through the neural link. She also felt the determination of her other pilots. No, we're not trapped, she said. We have them exactly where we want them. She gave an order that made no sense by any standard military tactic. All ships shut down main engines and weapons. Now, the human ships went dark, drifting in space. What are they doing? Zix Thrall asked, watching from the Federation vessel. They're committing suicide. The swarm moved in, surrounding the seemingly helpless ships. Now, Susan ordered. All ships activated Kevin's special device at once. It sent out a pulse that mimicked the swarm's own energy signature but reversed. Like two waves canceling each other out, the pulse disrupted the swarm's structure. The black mass writhed in space, parts of it dissolving into nothing. Attack pattern Omega, Susan ordered. The human ships came back to life, their weapons targeting the weakened sections of the swarm. For the first time, their attacks caused real damage. On the Federation observation ship, the crew watched in stunned silence. Impossible, Zix Thrall whispered. The Federation admiral beside him touched a communication panel. This is Admiral Kell of the Federation fleet. We are moving in to assist Earth forces against the Void Swarm. As Federation ships finally joined the battle, Susan smiled. Took them long enough to see we're worth saving. 1 month after the battle, Ambassador Frank Miller stood before the full Galactic Council. This time, he did not sit at the far end of the room. He stood at the main podium, where only the most respected species were allowed to speak. The Void Swarm has been pushed back from 3 more systems, Frank announced. The combined Human Federation fleet continues to make progress. The council chamber looked different now. Humans sat among the alien representatives. Susan Baker and her surviving pilots wore special medals given by the Federation itself. Kevin and Alan sat with the Science Committee, sharing their neural interface technology. Zix Thrall approached Frank after the meeting. The alien's posture was different, less arrogant, more respectful. Your species continues to surprise us, Ambassador, Zix, Thrall said. We had you wrong from the beginning. Frank smiled slightly. You saw what you expected to see. Physical weakness, technological limitations. You never looked deeper. And now we must, Zix, Thrall admitted. The Council has voted. Earth's status has been changed from protected species to full Alliance member. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa sat in her office with Diane. On her desk sat the new Federation Treaty. It gave Earth equal trading rights, access to all technology, and a permanent seat on the Council. Did you ever imagine this? Lisa asked. Diane shook her head. When they first arrived, all I felt was anger at how they looked down on us. I wanted to prove them wrong, but I never thought we'd end up here. Our weakness became our strength, Lisa said. Because we're physically weaker, we had to become more adaptable, more creative in our thinking. In the laboratory, Kevin worked with alien scientists who once would have ignored him. They studied his adaptive weapons systems with wonder. How did you create this? Asked a Vorathi scientist. Our engineers tried similar approaches for years without success. I didn't follow the rules, Kevin replied simply. I didn't know what was supposed to be impossible, so I just did it anyway. The alien made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. Perhaps that is humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Susan trained new pilots in the neural interface ships. Now her students included aliens who wanted to learn the human way of flying. Your minds are so unexpected, said a young alien pilot after a training run. You make connections we would never consider. That's because we evolved differently, Susan explained. Each species brings something unique to the galaxy. We just needed the chance to show what humans can offer. On the edge of Federation space, a joint human-alien science vessel studied the remnants of the Void Swarm. Ellen led the research team, working to understand the enemy that had accidentally changed humanity's place in the galaxy. We believe the swarm came from outside our galaxy, he told his team. It may return someday, perhaps stronger. Then we will be ready, said a Federation scientist. Together. The word together would have seemed impossible just months ago. In the council chamber, Frank attended a special ceremony. The Federation's highest leader, an ancient being from one of the founding species, presented him with a symbolic key. This represents humanity's new position among the stars, the leader said. Not as a protected species, but as teachers and innovators. Your unique minds have already saved countless lives. Frank accepted the key. We have much to learn from the Federation, he said, but perhaps we have things to teach as well. That evening, on the observation deck of the station, Lisa and Zix Thrall stood side by side, looking out at the stars. What do you see when you look at the galaxy now? Zix Thrall asked. Lisa thought for a moment. I see a place where differences are strengths, not weaknesses, where being underestimated just gives you the chance to prove everyone wrong. And we were very wrong about humans, Zix Thrall admitted. Lisa smiled. That was your first mistake. Across the galaxy, the story spread of the physically weak humans who had saved the Federation with the power of their minds. No one mocked Earth anymore.